do you foresee a situation where, the priorities of the army have to be changed in the sense that now it is spreading out to other northeastern state as well? Though, so if the crackdown
Uh,
on disarming and other things are not done, do you see it spreading to other parts and getting politicized to a level where instead of fighting Chinese, we are fighting, as General Meston very rightly put, we'll be fighting our own men?
Yes, yes, we have these legitimate apprehensions of these being spreading in a certain way in certain other locations as well. But so far, Nagaland and Mizoram are peaceful, Meghalaya is peaceful, Arunachal Pradesh is peaceful from the internal disturbances. Now, this is a Manipur specific disturbance and it is impacting a part of Assam and a part of Mizoram. Let's not exaggerate it much, but
Mhm.
we should nip it in the bud, as General Meston has talked about the political solution that is possible in terms of providing autonomous governance. Now, Home Ministry has talked about the autonomous governance and autonomy council day before yesterday, but it was again opposed from one group saying that it should be extended even to them. Now, this kind of a competitive federalism that is going on at the political level is something that does not help the peace process. No one is ready to accede to the other side. Now, look at the historical division. The hill tribes and the hill land are protected under Article 371C. And whatever is stated in Article 371C, Hill Area Committee, that committee is not functioning anymore. So it's a kind of a constitutional vacuum or a constitutional void in which we are functioning. Now, security forces can only complement and supplement, especially the central security forces. They can complement and supplement the situation, provided the local state government and the local populace are able to cooperate and collaborate with this, and it should be both sided. Central security forces should not be looked upon as a kind of colonial force, as it is looked upon in the context of Northeast India. So that image has to be totally changed, and central security forces have to organize itself from the ground, and it has to create a network whereby popular sentiments, various people who are part of the security arrangement, and then the people who go into action are well coordinated. But this requires a very special kind of a supervision. I hope that central security forces will be able to manage this. I have a strong hope about it. And therefore, I believe that the lost neutrality and impartiality can be restored in the case of Manipur, and a political solution can be worked out. Now, I want to shift to the other issue, which I think as the root cause of snowballing effect, which makes snowballing effects of this ethnic conflict. It is this process of othering and stereotyping. Refugees are confused as illegal immigrants all the time. Now, people who have taken shelter because of humanitarian crisis absolutely cautious about it. The second question is about this poppy cultivation, narco terrorism. It should not be identified with any community. It's not a problem of a community, but it's a problem of a different kind. So that kind of an objective understanding needs to be evolved without being partisan, without speaking just for one's own community. One has to look at the larger interest of the state of the Manipur, even the interest of the other community. If we are not able to speak for the other community, if we are not able to live with the other faith, if we are not able to accept the other people, it's very difficult to live in India, because India is a multicultural, multi-ethnic, multi-religion, all kinds of multiplicity and plurality is part of the Indian society. Only when we accept the other, we have strong bonding and unity, and that is the unity in diversity. Manipur has to be brought back to a kind of a lesson of unity in diversity, and that has to start with the majority community, and then it has to be taken to the hills as well. So unless we are able to coordinate and collaborate in this manner, that we are able to bring both the sides together with the help of a neutral central force and other central agencies, nothing is going to change in Manipur. Even the discussions that we had day before yesterday hasn't yielded much of a result. So we have to relook at 371C. We need to implement 371C in case of hill states, hill areas of Manipur, and we also should go for a justified, equitable distribution of resources and power. The asymmetry that is there between 20, 40 MLA number, distribution of funds, and all these asymmetries that are going on for a while in the state of Manipur, that has resulted into this complete chaos and mess, needs to be really relooked, resupervised by the center, which is like the guardian here. And that role center has to play. That will be urgently necessary. Then the small incidents on the ground will not make much difference. People will reconcile between them, provided center comes and intervenes in the right way. I think this is how we should look forward for a good solution. Yeah.
I've also been joined by Yashovardhan Azad, former Special Director, Intelligence Bureau, and someone who knows this situation. Yashovardhan ji, welcome to News9 Live. Sir, there has been, as I asked General Meston, also, there has been another recurring theme, a leitmotif of the discussion right from word go is that people have been talking about the Sioux group and how, the one ethnicity always says that this Sioux group is violating the tripartite agreement and they are roaming around with guns and all. Whereas, whenever the audit which was displayed by the army as well as by the central forces and all, they have said that nothing of this sort is happening. If there is a violation, why isn't there a crackdown? And if there is no violation, why isn't the government setting the record straight?
Yeah, I think, I had talked about this even earlier on your channel, that, I think 2,200 cadres in those 18 camps. One of the most important things when we talk about weapons is to check and verify from those camps. Mm-hmm. And in fact, there should be a general statement coming out from the authorities, from the security advisors, because ultimately we are talking about a completely militarized zone here, where 3,000 weapons are missing, and about the various underground groups which have been able to use the weapons. So yes, I think it's a very, very important part that we need to look into. And I think this is the first, if you're trying to bring back normalcy, this is the kind of things you have to look into. First is to completely, dry up the area of these weapons which are floating around here and there. And the Sioux group is a very, very critical, because mind you, there are 25 of them, 18 plus 7. And I agree with you that this is a very, very important part.
General Meston, yesterday we were showing a ground report which has been filed by a reporter there on the ground. When he was talking to a group of Kuki vigilantes, vigilantes from the Kuki ethnicity, and they were saying that the entire road was barricaded, the road was dug up to ensure that that there is no free flow of movement, as a vehicular movement, as far as that area is concerned. And one of the person who was interviewed, the couple of them in fact, sir, went on to say that they allow only Indian Army, Assam Rifles, journalists, and only bona fide villagers who are around. Now, what does this make? How can they allow Indian Army and Assam Rifles to travel, and should have been the other way around? First. And second, what can the army do? There must be, the army must be talking about, because something which has reached us is something which the army must have been facing right from the word go. What can the army do, sir, in this scenario where this kind of situation exists, sir? Where they are the one who's being allowed rather than the other way around, sir?
As on date, you have highlighted the current situation.
Yes,
and firstly, putting of these barricades, and the Kuki community is not doing it. See, both sides it has been done. Mm-hmm. And, obviously, why it has been done? When there is distrust with the administration, distrust with the local police forces, they have failed. So when there is distrust, so the basic sense of any human being is self-security, and therefore to protect the villages of the hamlet, they are forming this kind of a thing because they do not trust the police force at all. Now, army cannot be directly involved in all this because this is not a charter. That is firstly very, very clear. Till the time the central government does not give orders and declare the area as counter-insurgency area, and then our role changes. Right now, we are just suppressing, just assisting. That is our role. And yes, now they are allowing the army, because today what is happening that they are checking army I agree, it should be vice versa, but the mistrust is so much that today vehicle can be painted in an army vehicle can be any civil vehicle can be painted into army. They can also, anyone can be in any dress. This is also happening and it happens. I have seen in Afghanistan how the terrorists would even dress up as US soldiers, come in vehicles and come as suicide bombers, and even the Americans suffered there. So this is highly possible, and therefore they are not doing the check. Otherwise, yes, it is the duty of the not the army, it is the duty of the police. Police has failed in totality. So it's a very critical situation, and the way we have just analyzed, I think now it is high time this debate. You are really doing a wonderful job since day one. But what is happening on ground? Things continue unabated. There is no stoppage, and even today I was reading the newspaper reports of various newspapers. Again, it is blame on the Manipur police. Some commandos have gone there to Moray and want to, clean up one ethnicity. No one knows what is the truth behind all this. Okay, so many reports are this thing. So the center has to now take some firm stand, firm decisions, which I just highlighted. Otherwise, I do not. I see. It is happening in Moray, the border area. Tomorrow it will spill over. The spillover will also come from the other side. Army's role is exactly, I told you, to fight the northern borders and this. Incidentally, we have some military stations, and Imphal happens to be one of the military stations where our division headquarters is located. That is the only this thing. We are just located like today we have in Delhi. We are not here to start, taking care of Delhi or any place, Secunderabad or Pune. We have got a roles from hinterland. We are mobilized and we move to the concerned border and go and do our job there. That is our job. The army's role has to be understood. A lot of people here have been confusing. I was hearing some of them. The army has to win the trust. This is not a role. Army has operated in insurgency areas and we have done it. The same areas of Nagaland and Manipur, not the same areas. I was posted in Nagaland and Manipur. My career started here way back in 82. It was an insurgency prone area. We had a different role. But that time the things with China were not so bad. Today the things with China are so bad. Either we deploy our armed forces along the China border or we deploy them to fight against our own people at the cost of national security. That the country has to prioritize, and I'm quite sure that is how the CT has stated very clearly. It is not a counter-insurgency problem. It is a law and order problem. It is the responsibility of the state with its setup, which is the police, to resolve it. And they seem to be now going out of hand. They have not been able to resolve since 2 months. Violence continues unabated. So the center has to step in and take appropriate measures. Otherwise, Indian Army per se will get sucked in here, and God forbid tomorrow there is a deployment ordered because of some problem in the Chinese border. From where we'll get the forces? Our forces are limited. So this the central government has to weigh. Otherwise, yes, the army can do it. Tomorrow, if the area is declared as disturbed with counter-insurgency, we can certainly do it. But not at this present juncture because having been in the military operations directorate and knowing so much, we have some limited ceiling of force. We cannot suddenly start raising new forces and deploy them all over. So whatever forces we have within those existing resources, we have to live and survive and fight the Chinese oblique Pakistan, which is our main enemy. Our people are not our enemy. So the internal forces, the internal administration, the state has to do it. And if they have failed, so we have to do a security analysis in terms of everything and take a call, which I just recommended in my last statement. I gave you very, very firm recommendations.
Absolutely.
And I think I've been very candid.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. You wanted to respond, Mr. Yashwardhan?
Yes, certainly. First of all, bringing in AFSPA would be a retrograde step. I'm totally against it. And I agree with the general. Army should be withdrawn from Manipur. After all, when they were some time back only, when the women surrounded them, about 15 militants were let go. Also, the armory of Assam Rifles was also looted. So I think Army does not have a role and they should be removed from there. Number one. Number two, I think, it's not a military problem in Manipur.
Yes.
It's a great ethnic divide which needs to be filled. These militarized zones have been created Let me also remind you, Brijesh, that there is a tradition also in Manipur from the beginning of village being protected by some of their own men. So this is just an advanced version where you have created the militarized zones and they're allowing the Assam rifles and the army only to pass by. So if at all the talks get underway, if the peace talks, if on the ground zero, when your guys are even asking them, they are saying that we are keeping these militarized zones and these protected zones because of the reaction from the other side, because of the violence which was unleashed. So it is a kind of a counterprotective measure which they are using in these places. So as I had suggested earlier, unless you break the impasse, and the impasse can be broken only when the people believe that the new administration which has come in will be able to look at the causes and the grievances of both. If you remove, for example, the present political dispensation, bring in a president's rule, get a governor who's been from one of the cadres, some of the very, very seasoned men have performed in Manipur, and they will respond to the call of the cadre. Make one of them as the governor, have 3 advisors, one from the defense, one from the IAS, one from the IPS, and also one as an economic advisor. Then there will be a sense that yes, the government means business, and then you can also go very strong against the women who are by using a women force for these law and order situations. So the situation cannot be tackled by the army now. There has to be a sense of what you call a balance amongst the people, which needs to be done immediately. Otherwise, this kind of an impasse seems to continue.